Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Grace, and today the video that I'm going to be doing is fantasy series that I want to start in 2021, maybe. The reason that I say that is because there are a lot of them. And because there are a lot of them, I can find myself to books that are actually on my shelves. So there are definitely series that I want to start that are not on here, but I think I have a pretty hefty TBR as it is of books that are physically in my possession already. Let's get on to the books. Okay, so the first series on my list that I would like to start this year is The Burning by Evan Winter. From what I understand, this is a book about a character named Tao, and Tao is driven by revenge. It's a revenge plot for sure. I honestly don't know much more about it than that, other than the fact that the magic involves being able to call down dragons. And I like going into series not really knowing too much about them, so it doesn't bother me that I don't know too much more about this book than that. But I have heard some people really loving it and other people maybe not liking it so much, although that seems to be whether they can get on board with the main character or not. So all in all, I am really interested in this series and I am really excited to get into it and to see if hopefully I fall into the crowd that are gonna really like it. The second series that I want to start in 2021 is The Faithful and the Fallen by Gwynne. And I am honestly, out of this whole list, this is one of the ones that I am the most excited about because some of my favorite channels, like Alan at the Library of Alexandria and Jessie at Jessie May, wow, it kind of feels weird to mention their names because they don't know who I am. But anyway, those are just two of a bunch of people who I've seen talk about this series and just give like glowing reviews, but also the things that they mention just seem like things that really call to me, like the fact that this series has like a chosen one trope, but done well and not necessarily done in the same way that you've always seen it done, and the fact that like Gwynne writes truly epic books and epic like on an epic scale and like characters that you can really fall in love with, and all of those things are just like the perfect buzzwords for me. So I really hope that I'm not hyping it up too much in my own mind because I am super excited to start this one. Now, let's get the big boy out of the way. Yes, I bought this gorgeous illustrated edition of the Earthsea cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I mean, I'm excited half just because, like, look at this thing. But this just seems like an absolute classic that I really want to, well, I want to read it, I'm interested in it, but part of that is that I feel like it will give me some form of nostalgia, like I will picture this as something that I could have enjoyed growing up but didn't get to, so the next best time is now. So the first book in this series is A Wizard of Earthsea, and I don't think I actually know the names of the other books in the series, but I'm really excited to start the books of Earthsea with A Wizard of Earthsea at some time this year. The fourth series on my list, and these are in no particular order by the way, I kind of just have a stack of books here, but regardless, the fourth series on my list that I want to start this year is Discworld by Terry Pratchett. So Terry Pratchett is obviously one of the most famous authors of all time, and so that's one reason why I want to get into his works, just to see what it's like, and hopefully I love it. But at the same time, the content of the Discworld books just feels like the exact right combination of like fantasy and absurdism and comedy, and this book that I'm holding up is Mort, the first book in the Death sub-series, and even just this book, Like, I think it's fascinating to have death personified as a job, and like reading about Death's apprentice, this just sounds, the whole thing sounds like just appealing, and I'm really excited to get into it. And just the fact that these books are so small just makes me think that it could be the perfect opportunity between like larger and more epic fantasy series to just have some good fun and like an enjoyable book that will kind of cleanse your palate for the next big thing. That's not to say that it won't be of substance itself, but it seems like it would fit really well. The fifth book that I have on my list sort of looms large over the fantasy landscape, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I am excited to start this just because it is so well known, and it is obviously very well loved by a lot of people. But there are a couple of things about this book, and I'm not going to say anything groundbreaking here. These are going to be things that everyone knows about already. But I read Game of Thrones in high school. I am 23 now. I read the fifth book in like probably 2012 or 2013. And you know, at that point, it had only been 2 years since the last book had come out. Nobody was worried. Winds of Winter was supposed to come out in 2016. It wasn't an issue. And we all know where we are now. So that's my concern, is that I will really love the first 2 books in this series, and then I will never get the third one. And so I am trying to decide whether it's worth it to start this and risk not finishing it. But just the fact that like everyone talks about how lyrical Patrick Rothfuss's writing is and like how epic this story is, they sound like things that I would really enjoy. So I will probably be picking this up anyway this year, and I do want to, but that is my fear. So that sort of looms over this series for me. However, that doesn't take away from the greatness or what I assume is the greatness of the 2 books that are currently published. The 6th book on my list, or the 6th series I should say, is The First Law by Joe Abercrombie. And I am really excited for this. And that is just because like everyone talks about how masterful Joe Abercrombie's character work is, and I am totally a character-driven reader, and so I am like really looking forward to diving in and getting to know his characters. And also the way that people talk about Joe Abercrombie's grimdark theme to his books, or tone would probably be a better word, just reminds me sort of A Song of Ice and Fire, and it gives me like George R.R. Martin feels, probably just because that is the series that I have read that seems to line up the best. Maybe it actually doesn't, but that is sort of the vibe that I get when people describe this, and I loved A Song of Ice and Fire. So if Joe Abercrombie is like in that same lane, I definitely think that I'm really going to enjoy The First Law. Okay, the 7th book or series that I have on my list is the Winnowing Flame Trilogy by Jen Williams, which starts with The Ninth Reign. And I mean, first of all, look at that cover. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that. Obviously, well, I guess it's not obvious if you don't know me, but Elliot Brooks is one of my favorite channels to watch, and she has hyped this book quite a bit, and has talked about how much she's enjoyed it and how like genre bending it is, and how it's such a weird mashup of stuff, but it just works. It's almost like vampires and elves at the same time. You sort of have this situation where there are catastrophic events in the world that come in cycles of maybe many hundreds of years. So now it has been a long time since the last time one of these events happened, and nobody alive actually remembers it. And so the characters don't really know what they're up against when one of these is going to come back around. And I think that that forms the basis of the plot. But like I said earlier in the video, I don't mind not really knowing what's going on or not knowing a ton about a series when I go into it. I want to know just enough to kind of know whether it has some of my buzzwords and has like things that I know are going to interest me, and that's about all I need to know. So I very much picked this because of what Elliot Brooks has said about it, and I really hope that I like it. The 8th book on my list, funnily enough, I also bought because of Elliot Brooks's recommendation. I mean, there's like 0 chance that she's going to see this video, but, you know, if anyone else that watches her watches this video, you will definitely know why I picked up these 2 series. But this is the Aurelian cycle by Rosaria Munda, and this is sort of like revolutionary fantasy inspired by, I believe it was the Russian Revolution. And so you have these 2 main characters, one of whom is part of the former ruling family who have been overthrown, I think. And the other main character is part of a lower class whose family, I think, suffered at the hands of the former ruling family. But from what I understand, they form this really fascinating relationship and like really great friendship and maybe a romance. I'm not entirely sure, but the whole political like underpinning of this book sounds super intriguing, and it sounds like that setup will create a lot of conflict that will make some super interesting characters and relationships, and I am just really, really excited for this one. And the final book on my list, or series on my list, like I said, these are in no particular order, I just made a stack of books. The final series is The Band by Nicholas Eames. And this book, Kings of the Wild, is the first one. And Kings of the Wild is sort of about getting the band back together, hence the title of the series. So from what I understand, this book is about a group of mercenaries who are basically washed up and, like, I don't know about old, but past their primes, and they have to basically get the band back together for one more, like, last hurrah to save one of their daughters. It doesn't say that on the back of the book, so I'm not sure where I got that idea. But I do think that these old mercenaries have to get the band back together to go save one of their daughters, and that this is sort of like a lighthearted, fun adventure with a bunch of old rock and roll music references. I know that the different books in the series are gonna be full of references from different decades, but I can't remember for sure which decade this book is. I think it might be the 70s. And so I like a lot of rock, but I am 23, like I like this rock mostly through my parents, so I'm wondering whether I will have enough knowledge to get these references, or whether they'll pass me by. Like, I think that if I can pick them out, I'll be really proud of myself, and I'll like enjoy that aspect of it, so I am kind of looking forward to that. I just think that this book is going to be really fun, and this is sort of like what I said with the Discworld books, where like this book, I mean, it's a little bit bigger, but it just seems like the type of thing where, like, maybe if you're in a reading slump or if you're just a little bit fatigued by like bigger fantasy series, this could be a breath of fresh air and just a really, really like fun, light, I've said the word fun about 5 billion times, but just like a light read that is easy to get through and will be really great for that. So those are the 9 series that I'm hoping to get to this year, and like I said, there are more, but these are the 9 series that are physically on my shelves that I'm hoping to get to this year. And please excuse me while I attempt to hold these up. Don't fall, come on, you can do it. Why did I put the Discworld book in the middle? So if you're watching this and you're also planning to start reading one of these series, let me know in the comments down below, Or if you love these series and you have thoughts, non-spoiler of course, please let me know. So those are all the series that I'm hoping to start in 2021, and thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button if you liked it, and hit the subscribe button if you really liked it and you want to join me. I will very much appreciate it. Again, I'm Grace, and it was so nice to talk to you. See you guys next time. Bye!